Hey guys, Tarke here, and we are here in Standard. Yes, we died. I was really enjoying this character. Lovely lady was going very, very well. I'll quickly go through the defenses, talk about what sort of happened, what killed me, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of a theorycraft because there are a few other things I want to try. So, what happened? Katarina mission. Bit of a sketchy map. Lots of, like, extra accuracy, unlucky dodge, temp chains, extra damage, or some shenanigans, some mix of those things. Katarina mission, bunch of chaos spiders jump out of a box, they get me kind of low, I kill them, I die anyway to like Viper Strike or something, and I think what happened was there were 4, I killed 3 of them, went through all my charges killing the 3, and then I just backed a bit slow and I got flickered by the last one as my poison killed her and it finished me. Or it was just spiders, I died. It was, yeah, whatever. Okay, so where was the character? So we're level 80, 5.2k life. My gear was a mix of pretty nice and pretty average. So we had a perfect form. My 2 alchemy chest piece. I had just 5 linked it before I died, which is pretty frustrating because I'd spent quite a few fusings getting it. And we were running the Lightning Arrow, Pierce, GMP, increased crit strikes, added chaos damage. And then we had my Barrage and a 4-link, just added chaos, crit strikes, Pierce. We're using Death's Opus. I'm going to talk about this bow in a bit. Very underrated. Decent diamond rings. If you've seen one of the videos, you know that these diamond rings have been passed around all of my hardcore characters until now. Really sad to lose this one. This was a really nice one. I was going to take off the lightning res and actually craft on the flat chaos right before I died. So luckily, you know, that's 13 chaos I managed to save. But anyway, we're using just an okay-ish whatever neck. Decent-ish rare helm. Very cheap whatever enchant. Was spamming lab a little bit. Didn't get lucky. High life. Has tri-res. Decent. Drill neck. Nothing to shout about. I really liked the spell. This was a real steal. I picked it up for only 2 chaos. People... Reduced flask charges used is a very good mechanic, and people do not value it at all. So I got it without the fire res craft, 2C, slapped on fire res. I was really happy. Whenever I play Pathfinders, always just look for stupidly high life belts with reduced flask charges used, with 1 resist and an open suffix. Slap another resist on there. Really, really nice belt. Really sad to lose it. Again, pretty nice gloves. Had accuracy, good evasion, life, dual res. Nothing that amazing. Like, all the gear was kind of like a couple of chaos. These were, again, really nice. And these were really cheap. These were, again, like 1 or 2 C. Really high int, which is amazing. 2-tone boots are brilliant. One other thing which I particularly like about 2-tone boots in heavy evasion style builds is we often have like full evasion based gear. And we have an awkward recolor where we're like, oh, I want to use, you know, 3 red or 3 blue setup somewhere in my gear. Well, the 2-tone boots, you can really easily get those off colors. And I've also just noticed that my shoulder is disappearing into the green screen. So let's see if this fixes it up. There you go, that's a bit better. Now, yeah, this is where we were out on the tree. We hadn't done Uber Lab, you know, we just sort of finished the Dried Lake, started mapping setup. Pretty basic. We only had 1 jewel. Again, it was like 1 or 2 C, just a DPS jewel, nothing that amazing. We had all the life nodes in the tree. This was 199% life at the point of death. By the time we'd gotten a few more levels, gotten some upgrades, gotten a few more jewels, very easily could have hit like 6k life, 7k if you had really nice gear, maybe messed around with Bellies of the Beast, stuff like that. Yeah. Now, before we stare at passive skill trees for a bit, I want to talk about this bow. Death's Opus is better than Reach for the Council and Crit Bolts. There, I said it. Death's Opus has a base crit of 6.5 to 7.5 depending on your roll. Reach of the Council has a base crit of 6%. Top end of Reach of the Council post-nerf, I'm not sure about Legacy Reach, is like 260, 270. This top end is like 200. This has 2 additional arrows. Reach has 4 additional arrows. And you go, well, that's more. This has 150% global crit strike multi. And in a build like this, which is all about added chaos damage, get added chaos, percent chaos, added chaos, percent chaos, added chaos, percent chaos. 150% global crit multi just scales the chaos damage of this build way higher than the additional arrows of reach. Another thing is a Death's Opus goes anywhere, this is in hardcore breach, from 10 to 20c. Most list at about 15 to 20, but if you're lucky buying the prophecies or you're good at haggling, you can get them for a bit cheaper. It's much easier to get Death Opuses and corrupt them for additional arrow, giving you 3 arrows, than it is to get a Reach of the Council. Just looking at like price, if you were just buying Death's Opus, buying Reaches, you could buy a bunch of Death's Opus, spam them, get additional arrows, and then it's definitely better than Reach. I think with just 2, it's at least the same, if not better. So people on a budget, this is a really nice thing to know. So, what is Tarke doing now? Because Tarke was really enjoying this build. One of the best bow builds I've played in a very long time. I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, and I need to quickly show you one more thing, because I need advice on what I'm making. And literally just after I died, 2 FPS stream, PogChamp, I found this on PB Trade for 25 Chaos. I'm not entirely sure what the person selling it was thinking, but it was a 5-link Cosprey's Well. It is corrupted, but it's a 5-link Cosprey's Well for 25C. A normal Cosprey's Well is like 60 to 80 chaos in Hardcore Breach. This is a 5-link 6-socket for 25. I felt like a bit of a scamaz taking it off him, but I just died, and I mean, look, I'm not the richest man, so I was kind of like, this is a sign from Chris Wilson, he's helping me out here. He's trying to help me come up with something cool. So I have a 5-link Cosprey's in the mix. Now, the colors aren't ideal. We can use those colors for one build, but even if we don't use those colors, you can still just have the links in your bow and then put like blink arrows, cast on damage takens, decoys, Val hastes, you know, duration. You can make this work. It's not like a wasted slot. So, if we used that chest, that is the perfect colors for, well, it's near perfect colors for Lightning Arrow Voltaxic, because it has 1 red, which is weapon elemental damage, and then 5 green. So you use LA, GMP, Pierce, or Chain, or whatever you want to put there. Faster attacks, slower proj, void manipulation. You're missing out on crit strikes, but if you're something with enough crit, you don't need the crit strikes. You're missing out on added chaos or added lightning, but you don't really need it. That was more of a 6-link option in those kind of builds. And you can definitely make those 5 colors work. Like, it's good enough until you got like a linked up bow or a better Cosprey's or whatever. So there's that. So basically this is what I have. I have this tree. This is like the core tree with a few variations. This is a Shadow variant. This is a Marauder variant. This has 232% max life. You can see that I've trimmed these 2 Frenzy Charges. Now, you're all going to shout at me. I think Frenzy Charges are overrated. I think that 4% more damage, while very nice, isn't actually that amazing. A lot of the times, they're not up. General Map Clear, sure, they're up. But for General Map Clear, you generally have enough damage anyway for General Map Clear. The stuff where you need the more damage is for bosses. You don't always have them up for the bosses. That's kind of when you need the more damage. Instead of, you know, a 4% over 2 points, you can just get more life. Maybe not get one-shot by spiders. You can get flask nodes, you can get poison, you can get jewels. They're still good to get over level 90. But I think that the whole, like, get all the charge meta, I think for some builds it's maybe not that good. One interesting thing you can do as Marauder is you can do this. Aspect of Carnage, that's 40% more damage. That's obviously really powerful for your poison and chaos scaling. You can do this, which is Leech, which is nice. You can do this, which is 25% of your life and mana when you use a war cry. 100% increased war cry duration. 100% increased war cry cooldown recovery. So when you're going, Tarke, why would you do this? I think this is what Crip wanted to do. Anyone who watches Crip stream knows that he's been chatting about an Abyssal Cry bow berserker. If you used this tree, for anyone who wanted to roleplay Crip or roleplay Tarke, you could do Voltaxic Lightning Arrow. Voltaxic costs like 1 chaos. And you have good amounts of life. You have everything you need in the tree. It's 110 points. Your crit. You don't need to be crit, but your crit. You got Acro. 232 life. It's Breach. You press Abyssal Cry. It covers everything. One thing dies. Everything dies. Abyssal Cry scales with your chaos damage. It kind of works really well, actually. I actually tried out Abyssal Cry while leveling in my Barrage character. I couldn't quite justify the links. The main issue I had with it is the base AoE on a... Because all my bow builds, they don't scale loads of AoE, right? So the base AoE in it was really bad. So to make it feel good, you needed to link it with the increased AoE gem. If you have the links for it, it's good. The problem I had with linking it, running it in 2 links, running it in 4 links, I did try it, was it then had the cooldown. So it felt weird to use the links on a skill on a cooldown. And most of the time it was like, if I'm going to drop something before just one-shot screen, I'd rather drop down like a decoy totem or something which would keep me alive. But if you did this as a Marauder, then you don't have the cooldown problem. So yeah, you could do Abyssal Cry, increased AoE, less duration to get all that nice more damage. You could run Conk Effect if you wanted to. You could run Void Manipulation for all that chaos damage. There's things you could run on this. And I actually think this might be a good build. And for the record, if Crip ends up playing this, then I told you so. So yeah, I told you so. Anyway, the other option you have is obviously just put 1 point here. Swap this out from being a Ranger. Or from being a Marauder to Ranger. Now you've got a Ranger with 232% life and all this cool stuff. Obviously, I haven't picked up these frenzy charges, so if you want to do this as a Raider, then you'd want to drop like 4 points. So you'd probably drop these 4 points here. Once you drop these 4 points here, these 6 points seem less good. They're still pretty good. For 6 points, you're getting 20% life, 40 strength, 1.8% regen, and some max life, and a little bit of dex, and access to more life later on. That's pretty good. So then you do Frenzy Charge, then you do Frenzy Charge, and then it's like, whoa, we have a 215%. That's pretty goddamn tanky. We're a Raider. We have Super Frenzy Charge stuff, and we have Avatar of the Veil. This is 40% increased elemental damage. This hasn't updated, but that is 40% increased elemental damage. That's actually still pretty good for Voltaxic LA, because Voltaxic is a bunch of flat lightning, which scales to chaos. This would scale my lightning, which would scale my chaos. It gives me immune to status elements, meaning all I would need is 1 quartz flask with staunching, and I have a oh shit flask which cleanses all debuffs. Now you get phasing anyway just from killing stuff and just being a Raider, but having that emergency 1 flask which wipes everything is obviously pretty nice for people who panic or can't be bothered or are lazy or whatever. You get a lot of defense from it because you have loads of life, you have all this, you know, phasing and dodging. You can use the Crossbreed's Will, so you still have poison, so you don't need to worry about using snake bites or anything. Pretty tempted by this option. Okay. You can obviously just remake the exact same build again and do the whole Pathfinder thing. And just do this rooting so you just have more life. If you're wondering what I dropped the accuracy crit nodes. I did pick up depth perception. I feel like if you have good enough gear, you don't need depth perception. If your gear isn't good enough, you need it because you want the accuracy. Also, my crit chance was high enough already that I wasn't struggling. With all of my charges up, I floated between 70 to 80% crit, depending on the diamond rings and stuff. I think I had something like 76 point something with all my charges up. And that's with 4 charges because I got 1 from Alira. Now, I was using a diamond flask because I was like, this is enough. I really don't need the extra crit from this. One other thing you can do, which is very interesting, well, there's a few other things, and this is something that only recently became available thanks to a new divination card called the Wolven King's Bite, which gives you Rigwald's Quills. I don't want to say Rigwald's Quills is my favorite item that I've never used, but I think Rigwald's Quills is my favorite item that I've never used. It is a quiver, as you can see. It says quiver. It gives accuracy, which is meh. Minus 10 fire res, that's bad. Lightning res, meh. Life gain on hit, meh. Reduced proj speed, that's bad. Proj damage, that's nice. 50% proj damage. It's half the effect of a drill neck, whatever. Projectiles fork. Fork is my favorite mechanic, but fork is shit. If you don't know, because you've never used fork, because fork is terrible, if my hand is the mob, and this is the projectile, what's the best way of doing it? Okay, so it goes, it hits the mob, it then splits, and then like shoots like that. So one goes this way, one goes that way. So it like splits and goes pshing. So it's like bleh. So then two more fork out, and they go off and do their own thing. Now the order of fork chain pierce is fork chain pierce. So if your build has fork and chain, it will fork first, so it will hit the mob, then two projectiles split off, then these two projectiles will then chain, and then piercing happens. If you have pierce, which if you had Sliver Tongue, that other item which is terrible, 100% increased critical strike chance with arrows that fork. So this now becomes minus 10, which is bad, 30% lightning res, which is okay, some life gain, which is whatever, reduced proj speed, which is bad, but 50% increased proj damage, 100% increased crit. That's less terrible now. Still not amazing, but it's like whatever, right? Whatever. You're a Deadeye, so you get +1 chain for free. This is a lot of work, and it's always something great, but just bear with me, it's exciting, right? So you're a Deadeye, you get +1 chain. So then you're like, oh, this seems amazing, right? So you're already forking, so this has really high base crit, because it's 7.5 base crit, and it has another 100% increase on it. So then it forks, and then it chains, and then after the chains, it then pierces, and then after the pierce, it bleeds, and you're like, well, that seems kind of overkill. But then Rupture gives you 40% crit strike multi and 80% increased crit strike chance against bleeding enemies. So you just get like, whoa, all this multi and all this crit chance, and it sounds amazing. It doesn't sound that amazing. It sounds kind of cool, but it's a bit over convoluted, and I still don't really know how good it would be. But if you're ever going to make this item work, that's how you're doing it with these, you know, interactions. And you use something like Tornado Shot, because Tornado Shot has lots of projectiles which pierce and fork and do all sorts of cool stuff. Or you can just do standard LA Barrage, but yeah, whatever, right? Whatever. But there's also another option in all of this. You do the assassin thing. Okay, so now you're an assassin. And then you go, okay, well, I'm an assassin, now what? You reroute this a little bit, so since we've dropped depth perception, you come through entropy now. Maybe add that into the other builds if you don't worry too much about points. And you go, okay, well, we've done this now. Points are kind of high. Drop this. 19 points. Grab this. 199% life. 3 jewels. Seems good. Has all 3 frenzy charges. If you want to pick this life up again, you can drop frenzy charges. Okay, this is like a pretty well-rounded, normal build. It has frenzy charges. Now what are we doing? Well, you know how I said Death's Opus is better than Reach the Council because I'm a madman? Get Toxic Delivery, which gives you 100% more crit strike damage on your poisons. Yeah. So, crits, poisons, 100% more damage. Yeah. Okay. You use Death's Opus, which gives you 150% global crit multi. So it applies to your chaos damage and your poison, all that cool stuff, yeah? But then, you just use Marlene's Fallacy, and you get another 240% global critical strike multiplier. And this works. You've been able to do Marlene's Fallacy with Assassin for a while, and it works, right? So it has the non-crit strikes do 40% damage. You go, oh, that's terrible. But the thing is with Assassins, with Diamond Flask active, you always have upwards of 90% crit. And you attack really fast because you're a bow build. So if, like, 1 in 10 hits doesn't hit, then does it really matter? No, it doesn't. 40% less critical strike chance. Oh no, you're an assassin. It doesn't matter. You have enough crit chance anyway. This doesn't matter. You get Cull, which is kind of nice. You get flat accuracy, which is nice in crit builds. You get flat int, which is always the issue with these bow builds. They always have low int, and especially with my tree, because my tree is good strength. The only stat you need is int off your neck. So, yeah, it even gives you some evasion. It even gives you some glorious light radius. I mean, you know when you're playing Path of X, you go, you know, this corridor is really dark? Or like you're doing a Katarina mission and you can't quite see the spiders because it's too dark? If I was wearing this neck, I would have been fine because I would have seen the spiders, you know, but anyway. I actually think this is good because you use this plus Death's Opus. This costs 1 alch. To get a perfect one costs like 1 chaos. Death's Opus costs like 15c. So for 16 chaos, you get 390% global critical strike multiplier. You use these Essences of Envies, which give 31 to 34% increased chaos damage. Use these on 2 rings. With an open prefix, you have 2 rings with 62 to 68% increased chaos damage and 2 flat chaos damage rolls from Elrion, which is like 40 flat chaos damage, plus a 20/20 chaos gem. That's a lot of chaos damage with a lot of multi. So that is like a ridiculous hit. Now, the only issue you have with this is you're giving up life on next slot to get rings with the chaos damage craft, flat chaos damage. So the essence craft, the flat chaos damage craft, and life is your 3 prefixes. That's luck. Because you need to hit a good life roll to craft the Arion one on it and then still have resists. So the life is going to be a bit iffy because you're doing it as an assassin. You could do this whole setup with the Cosprey's, but then you're missing life on a lot of pieces, neck and chest, guaranteed probably low life on your rings unless you're very lucky. Yeah. So that means you probably don't want to use the Cosprey's, which we have, which is annoying, but the advantage of the Cosprey's and the fact that you're an assassin, you don't need Assassin's Mark. So you can do Temp Chain's Vulnerability or Temp Chain's Enfeeble to make up for the missing defense. Pretty good, right? It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. Going back to the super defensive tree. If you decide that you want to be super defensive, you can also just roleplay Perendus with the whole lightning arrow. Roleplay its Perendus with the whole lightning arrow thing. Do Duelist. Drop that life. You are Fortify. This is all good. It gives you evasion scaling. This gives you attack speed, gives you armor and evasion scaling. The melee damage is wasted. First strike lasts full. This gives you 40% increased damage when not on low life. Gives you a bunch of increased armor evasion when you do go low life. It gives you status elements are removed when you go to low life, so that's nice. And your hits permanently intimidate enemies that are on full life. So if you play in solo and don't use a golem, I personally don't like using golems because they get you killed to chain and stuff like that. That's a 50% increased damage node, which is pretty good. And this scales your chaos, this scales your poison. Attack speed is nice, obviously. This gives you increased effect of auras. So if you're running Grace, that's pretty good. And this gives you increased damage, increased movement speed. So good if you do run in a party. That's decent. You have Fortify. You can use the new belt. So you have Onslaught while you have Fortify. It's decent. Permanent Onslaught, permanent Fortify. Pretty good. You can drop Acrobatics if you're using that belt and just play full hybrid armor evasion gear. Easily float about 10k of each. Not too difficult. If you're running the perfect form, very, very easy to get very high evasion armor levels. One combination you can do, if you want to go all out on this hybrid defense setup, is you can use the new Breach Helmet, which gives you increased armor based on your fire res. And it gives you 8% of phys damage you take as fire damage. That's nice physical mitigation. With the perfect form. And then hybrid everywhere else. The belt gives a nice chunk of flat armor and evasion. So you'll end up with pretty well balanced armor and evasion, which the belt gives you attack damage based off your lowest of the two. You have all of this scaling. You could make it work. Another good thing about this is if you do this whole champion setup, all of this evasion scaling is very nice with Queen of the Forest. You can get ridiculous high levels of evasion through this. 109 points since you dropped acro. Pick up this or pick up this because that gives you more evasion scaling. 227 life. You can drop this if you want to. 104 points. Pick up the frenzy charge. Pick up the frenzy charge. So I have 2 points left over. What we're gonna get? Grab that for 1 point. Why not? 1 other point to fill in. Since we dropped that. 12 flat life? Ooh. No, you would do this. Grab entropy. Drop this. Drop this. I don't know what to do, basically. I have a lot of options. I have all these different ways of doing very similar or basically the same builds. What doesn't help, and the reality of the fact is I do have a cost breeze. I've never used a cost breeze. One important thing to note about cost breeze, though, is so enemies can have 1 additional curse, so you get dual curse. Your curse is applied to hexproof, so that means that stuff which is normally curse immune isn't curse immune. Poison cursed enemies on hit. So the mobs have to be cursed for you to poison them. So then it becomes a little bit awkward. So then you need to use some kind of curse on hit setup. Or you need to use blasphemies and the mob needs to be inside your blasphemy range. You can corrupt temp chains, early weakness, and vulnerability on hit by Varling gloves. You can use this as a basic, I need a curse on hit setup. You can buy these for like an alch to a chaos. Just slap these onto a build until you get later gloves, where you'd maybe want to take Malagaros, spam ball those. People used to do it with face breakers, but the crit multi on those got nerfed. But you get the temp chains curse on hit. And another thing to note is you need to hit the mob, which applies the curse, and then hit them again to apply the poison. Because the initial hit only curses, the initial hit will not poison. So you need to double tap the mobs. Now this is still better than using snake bites, because with snake bites you need to, let's say you go into Azara, you'll have no frenzy charges. You need to ramp up to max frenzy charges first, and then you'll start poisoning. So this is still like quicker and more efficient. But you need either some Vald gloves or be using these uniques. One other thing to note, if you want to do it on the cheap or feeling very lucky, is you can take these gloves. I tried my hand and I Valed 5 of them. It didn't go well for me. But you can take these gloves and Val these and get vulnerability on hit with these. So you have a dual curse on hit glove setup, which is pretty PogChamp, on gloves which do give some life, and they give int, and they give mana. These builds very famously lack int. It's actually decent. If you can get cursed enemies with temp chains on hit and Vun on hit with these gloves, that is absolutely amazing. And they're really not that bad because they do still give some life. And Drollnet gives you life, so it kind of like, it's really not that bad. Really, really not that bad. But I don't know what to do because I have all these different options. And I was really enjoying the character. I didn't want it to die. I've only got 25 chaos. If I sunk all the currency down, throw it into a pot, we could probably churn up to what, 40, 50 Cs? So, yeah. The most logical thing for me to do would be to go and buy a Voltaxic for 1 Chaos Orb. Go and buy a new Drill Neck, probably about anywhere between 7 to 12, depending if I'm getting, not already corrupted ones. So let's say I got the Drill Neck and the Voltaxic for 10C. I could take this 10 Chaos package with my Cosprey's, and I've got a character that's ready and raring to go, and then I can eventually upgrade into a Death's Opus if I decide to do that route, or I can just stay on the Voltaxic. And this is fine with the Voltaxic because it has the colours for it, as already mentioned. My main issue is I just don't know what to play it as. I think the Marauder thing would be kind of cool. because it has the more damage, so it would scale poison very well. It has all this nice attack speed in there. Has attack speed, has movement speed in there. So this is quite nice for this general map clear. You have the leech in there. You have the access to collecting savagery if you don't like the Abyssal Cry thing. Although I do actually think the Abyssal Cry thing would be really good for breaches. And hilariously enough, I am like 99.999% convinced this is what Crip is going to play. And it would be kind of fun to beat Crip to playing a Crip build. But this is me kind of just guessing things. But I'm pretty sure he's doing something like that. I could just do it with Fortify, have a good amount of life, pray that Fortify is the difference between being in Standard and being in Hardcore. I could just do it again as a Pathfinder. I could do it as Assassin, and do the whole Marlene's Fallacy thing, although I'd feel a bit iffy doing Marlene's Fallacy plus Cospreys. If I wanted to invest, and this is like the most expensive option of all of these, is doing the whole Rigwald's Quills things. Because I want to dish out like 20 to 30 chaos for a not very good bow. And then, you know, this div card only came out a few days ago. I have one of them, luckily enough, but they're selling for like 20C each. So, yeah. I need 8 of these. No, that's like really expensive. You're spending like 180 chaos for a not very good bow build, which is probably worse than everything else. So we're probably not doing the whole Deadeye thing. So let's just get rid of this and this. So, yeah. Dunno. The Voltax is definitely the cheapest option. It's safe. I just don't really know the Ascendancy to deal with. I really don't know the Ascendancy to deal with. And the whole issue is I'm also not sure if I want to use the Cospreys or not. Getting the Cospreys was really weird, because it literally, I got it within minutes of my character dying. And using the Cospreys comes with this whole awkward, well, do I play with Blasphemies and then go back to using Point Blank? I was using Point Blank before, but felt like I didn't need the damage, and then ended up dropping Point Blank. So I would become tankier, but I ended up dying anyway. So do you pick up the Point Blank again, and then run about in melee range? Do you use the Curse on Hit glove setup that I was talking about? Do I ignore that altogether, just go back to playing the old build, maybe use the Marlene's Fallacy, do Assassin, just have stupid damage? Do I do it as a Raider and just have really nice clear speeds? You know, do like Raider, Queen of the Forest, zoom, 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 zoom. Actually, no, I can't do that, because if I do that, then I'd have to use Snake Bites from using Queen of the Forest, and you don't want to use Snake Bites, so I'd have to use the Caster. So, comments, people, please, suggestions, thoughts. What do you think? What do you think? I'm Tarke. I need to work out what I want to reroll. Merry holidays. And, yeah. One other thing. I kind of want to show it to you, but I don't know what's the best of. Okay, if you hear me yelp and the video randomly ends, then I've made a horrible mistake in doing this. But I kind of want to show you what happened for Christmas. So I'm really boring, and I didn't get anything for Christmas because I'm boring. But my cat... Oh, come on, green screen. Seriously, you can do this to me? Okay. You see this weird, like, pixelated, half-invisible box? This is, as you can see, the water in it. This is a cat fountain. Yeah, okay. I might spoil my animals. So as you can see, it says Catmate on the front. It looks horrible. And you can maybe see the water. I can't really tilt it because I'll spill water over myself. But it's basically got 3 levels. And through the power of motion, the water goes through all 3 levels. And now the cat has running water to drink from. Because cats like running water. Most animals do. And I was worried the cat wasn't drinking enough. Yeah, I'm sad. So we're going to put this back down. And we're just going to end the video on that, really, I think.